This is Seasons of Discontent with your hosts Rick Snyder and Matt Combs on the Hogstye Network.
Welcome to Seasons of Discontent, Season 6, Episode 4, brought to you by Rick Snyder's Washington on social media. And I'm Rick Snyder.
I'm Matt.
And we're back discussing all things Washington sports and life as part of the Mighty Hogstye Network on audio and here on YouTube for video. All right, Matt, the next thing, now the name is done, it's time to talk stadium again for the next few years until we drop dead on this. God, I finally got done with the name, and now we got to start on the stadium again. But I think a stadium deal is coming this year. Jason Wright, the team president, told the Economic Club on Wednesday, and the Economic Club's a big money kind of guys downtown, that, you know, they expect something this year on the stadium. But the key thing he said was, we want to do 100 dates a year. They want it to be a multi-purpose because, hey, for $1 billion, you can't just have 10 football games. So if you want 100 things a year there, you're not putting that out in the middle of nowhere, or Manassas or Loudoun. It's got to be Beltway, Insider, something for it to work. That's a key tip, in my opinion, that's why it'll be there. So I don't know. I know they're talking about Virginia. Oh, Virginia passed some bills to make. That doesn't mean anything. It's just negotiating tactics against Maryland and maybe DC.
Well, and of course, the other day, as soon as the announcement of the team name was made, Mariel Bowser tweeted, you know, "Thank you, Commanders," or whatever like that. And now let's get you back in the city. You know, obviously that's a political thing because she's being reelected and stuff like that. But maybe there's a little bit of truth to it. I mean, the push, honestly, for a lot of fans has been to get the stadium back in DC. We know that the RFK site is not going to happen at this point. I see you have some other locations down. I'm not familiar with those, so I'll let you touch on those. But yeah, if you're going to have 100 different events there a year, besides 2 preseason games and 8 home games, yeah, something else. It's got to go. I'm thinking that tells me 2 things. One, like you said, it's got to be inside the Beltway, and for 2, it's either got to be a dome or a retractable dome. Because if you're going to be having stuff in the middle of February, as we saw with the Commanders announcement, it's a little cold sometimes. You know, maybe they're thinking they can move the auto show there or something like that. You know, the DC auto show is a big thing, but who knows? Touch on these 2 spots that you're talking about. Oxen Cove. I don't know where that is.
You know where Oxen Cove is? Where the farm. It's down by the Wilson Bridge.
Oh, okay. You're talking about where Oxen Hill Farm is. Okay, I know where that is.
Right. They call it Oxen Cove, where all that water is there, the inlet and all that. I mean, you got to be on the water because you're your Commanders. That's a naval term. I thought they were going to put a moat around the stadium. We got to have a little water. You know, well, and that's actually a Maryland site. It's right on the line, but it's a Maryland site. DC, if you go up to near RFK Stadium and go on the other side of 295, go east of it, is Anacostia, and there is some land over there. But it's federal land, of course.
Right.
So you have that problem. But now that they're no longer called the Redskins, the feds should be able to step aside on that point. But there's a chance that it could go over there, I guess. But Dan Snyder's got he wants to have Jerry World. He wants to have all this other stuff. And I'm not sure there's the room for that. And so then you make your choices. What do you want? You know, do you want a nice stadium in the city by the metro? Okay. You know, and I know Mariel Bowser's, every politician says we'd like them and then can say, well, we tried.
Right.
So
it's just like the team did with Red Wolves. Well, we tried, but we couldn't get the trademark and da-da-da-da-da.
Yeah, so it's grandstanding too. I still think it's going to end up down near the Wilson Bridge and MGM and all that. If you know where MGM is, the other side of the Beltway, inside of the Beltway is where there's an old farm there that could be, but that's also federal land. I got more federal land around here. So but now I think this president would be not blocking it like the last one was. Right. So I don't know. It's going to, this is the next thing we look at outside of, quarterbacks and all that stuff is the stadium. They're going to need to get done in the next year. And I know they're talking about stuff. Virginia's throwing their hat in at. Okay, good for you. I just don't think if for what they want, if they just want to build a football stadium, okay, you can put it in the boonies if you want. But, I don't know why they can't bring it down to Waldorf. I got a lot of land right by my house. Then I can retire and never go to the games down the street from me. But
it's funny you say Dan wants Jerry World. Now look at SoFi Stadium. It holds 70,000 people. You look at Allegiant Stadium. I didn't look at the total on that, but these are the days of the giant Jerry Worlds, 100,000 plus. Those are kind of going the way of the dodo. We've talked about it before, where you want to reduce the amount of other teams' fans. Well, don't make a lot of seats. Don't make it so that it's so easily for the season ticket holders to sell their Dallas tickets and pay for their entire package. Don't make it so big that you have to almost you have to sell tickets on StubHub for $10 just to fill your stadium. Those 100,000 seat stadiums, they're going away of the past. And like we've talked about, it's so much nicer to sit on your couch with a 75-inch flat screen TV HD and a 6-pack of beer that costs the amount of one beer at FedEx.
Yeah, would you notice all those 49ers fans in the Rams stadium?
Yeah.
What was that about?
Well, and that was after the Rams tried to block anybody with a San Francisco area code from buying tickets, but they can't control the secondary market. They're ding dongs.
Yeah, that was so weird though. I thought the Rams had a real following.
Come on, it's LA, man.
I guess not. Well, they're having the Super Bowl there next, so
yeah.
I don't know. But it's going to be interesting what happens there. Actually, in my book, and I can make the announcement now.
There you go.
I have a new book coming, 100 Things Commanders Fans Should Know and Do Before They Die. And it is coming out this fall. And I wrote 5 new chapters to take out 5 old chapters, rewrote 2 new chapters, and then I updated the heck out of the book from 7 years. So if you buy it, know that it's about 10% new. Cool. But it's good new stuff. And one of the new things I wrote was, what's the next stadium going to hold? And I talked about it needs to be 60,000 max. It's got to be forward thinking. The problem with FedEx is it was based on something that was already done, and it was more of a throwback without being a classic. It wasn't forward thinking. And so a generation later, it's an old barn. The next stadium has to be forward thinking for the TikTok generation that's going to be pushing through, not for old guys like me. Guys like me who just go to the game, buy a hot dog and watch, we're gone, man. These new people want all the social media stuff. They want all these new waves of stuff. And that's where Dan Snyder's got to move toward. And the stadium's got to do those things too. Yep. And be an event, enhanced experiences, they call this crap. So, that's where older fans are just going to get pushed out aside. And I don't know how much it's going to cost. I have not heard anything about personal seat licenses yet. But if you spend $1 billion, that's interesting. How much is the state going to kick in, or the city? My taxpayer money is going into the stadium. I don't want to have to pay a personal seat license. Right. Why should I? I've already got my tax money on this. It'll be interesting to see how all this works. But all I can say is it will be expensive. And if it is a smaller stadium because people are not coming like the old days, then you have to charge more per ticket. So it's going to be, those old $70 seats theoretically at FedEx, where you could get for $10. That ain't happening anymore. The days of cheap stuff will be over. And you got to come in with new food. All this stuff's going to be a dining experience, not a hot dog.
Well, that was a lot of the intrigue with Nats Park when the Nats weren't very good. I mean, you had all of the local influences in the stadium. You had your Ben's Chili Bowl, you had all your local breweries and stuff like that, and they've just kind of expanded on that. But yeah, that's the thing. I mean, look at Dallas Stadium, look at SoFi, look at Allegiant, look at all the newer stadiums. It's like you said, it's for a younger generation where they want a fan experience. They don't want to just go grab a hot dog and a beer and sit in a hard chair for 3 hours watching your team. They want other things to do. They want the stadiums have to almost be interactive at this point. Just a couple things. If they do make it a dome, please, God, Dan, do not try and make a bigger sign than Jerry. We already saw somebody hit the sign. We saw the punter hit the damn video board during the playoffs. Honestly, the halo in SoFi Stadium, that's kind of dumb if you ask me. Just stick with the basics, but just make everything better. You know what I mean? Like, just improve upon. Don't try to reinvent the wheel when it comes to your stadium. No moats. We don't need bumper cars out in the moat. We don't need any of that stuff, or bumper boats, or whatever you want to call it. But Rick, real quick before we go, you touched on it. ESPN did like a predictor of where quarterbacks are going in the offseason, and they had the Commanders trading for Derek Carr. Are you okay with that? New name, new franchise, New Jersey, need a new face.
I would be okay with Derek Carr if they got him for something reasonable.
I think it was the 11th pick this year, and then I think it was a compensatory either third or second round pick next year.
I could go for that.
Yeah, I'm down with that too.
I wouldn't give 2 first, but 1 and a 3, or a 1 and a player, because they always talk about what they're doing with Payne.
Yeah.
Okay. I could live with that. They traded they traded Schrader for Jim Lachey, who was an offensive tackle way back, because they hated Schrader and they had Doug. So they traded their quarterback away for an offensive tackle who played a few.
Who should be in the Hall of Fame. Yeah,
he got hurt and it shortened his career a little bit. Otherwise, Lachey would have been a Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
But they're a straight up trade for a quarterback who had thrown for 4,000 yards the year before, and nobody did that.
Yeah, and you have to look at it this way too. Obviously, the Raiders hired Josh McDaniels. They have a new GM as well. They always say when a coach comes in, he wants to start fresh with his guy. I could see McDaniels being that type of head coach as well. I mean, he did it in Denver when he drafted Tebow. And with the 11th pick, they can definitely pick, they'll have a choice of their liking at quarterback. If they like Coral, if they like Willis, whoever they like, they can start fresh with that guy, let Derek right off into the sunset and do the second part of his career, a la Matthew Stafford. So, obviously with the new name, the new jerseys, the new identity, everything, you have to swing big in this offseason with a quarterback. And I'm not talking Jimmy Garoppolo. You have to go after, you at least have to make a push for Rodgers. I know you're not going to get him, but make a push. You got to make a push for a Derek Carr or even a Russell Wilson.
What about Max Scherzer? Do you think he can throw the ball? That'd be kind of cool.
He's a traitor. He went to the Mets.
Well, but he can play football here. He played baseball there. I don't know. I'd like Max Scherzer. That would be cool.
What are we doing? Bo Jackson here? Come on. Dion.
It would be cool. He'd probably throw that ball 100 miles an hour and break everybody's fingers.
Exactly.
All right. I'm Rick Snyder.
I'm Matt.
We'll be back with a Super Bowl show in a few days, so make sure you watch.
All righty.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to Seasons of Discontent on the Hogstye Network.